In the previous part, Izuku met his idol All Might, but of course he had the opportunity to also meet director Nezu and Aizawa, and those three now knew about the Omnitrix, and that they had to watch it and above all protect it in case the villains get curious enough to want to go for the Omnitrix, of course if they don't find out and suspect him. And now our protagonist along with his best childhood friend arrived at UA, Class A meeting Tenya Ida and Ochako Uraka. Of course Aizawa surprised the boy that he would be his teacher, for which the tests with quirks would begin, and our broccoli used 4 arms to impress, only he did not expect Katsuki to want to attack him even though the law that if someone hurt him as a sign of abuse or staff he would be arrested, but thanks to Aizawa he put a stop to it. But what will happen to our protagonist? Narrator, while the tests were being carried out, some Izuku in his 4-armed form surpassed the others, leaving a Muslim very angry. Of course we will skip all this since we already know all the sauce of this original story etc. So we go on to see Izuku already in his human form who was ranked number 9 on the list, but Aizawa threatened to expel them if they didn't have potential. Aizawa, well, check your names carefully because I won't be responsible for this he said with his tired tone showing the list. 1 Shoto Todoroki. 2 Katsuki Bakugo. 3 Momo Yaoyorozu. 4 Tenya Ida. 5 Fumikage Tokoyami. 6 Tsuyu Asui. 7 Mina Ashido. 8 Eijiru Kirishima. 9 Izuku Midoriya. 10 Ibara Shiozaki. 11 Setsuna Tokage. 12 Ochako Uraka. 13 Mizushoji. 14 Kyokajiru. 15 Hantasero. 16 Kanoko Komori. 17 Mashirao Ojiro. 18 Denki Kaminari. 19 Toru Hagakure. 20 Minoru Mineta. Note, as I said there would be changes in Class A. There are Setsuna, Ibara, and Kanoko, who replace Koji Kauta, Rikido Sato and Yuuga Aoyama and Y. I'm not saying they are bad or anything but they are in Class B so it is the change of story. Each one is incredible in their own way, but I decided to make some changes, and you will wonder why 3 girls from Class B replaced those who were going to be in A. Because I have a surprise prepared. I thought about it well and even though I was inspired by stories or wanting to ask for opinions if I want that scene to look epic in my story I would feel like I did not achieve anything, so it will be known in time what I have prepared Once everyone had reviewed the list, someone shouted. Mineta, no don't take me out crying with blood in his eyes and the girls looked on in disgust. Aizawa, stop crying he sighed tiredly what happens is that, it was a lie everyone stays I'm a joker sometimes he said with a smile something that would be scary and a WTF face. All Mineta, what they some shouted in unison but the dwarf felt relieved kissing the ground. Momo, it was obvious if you put it like that, I just wanted us to give it our all said the girl with the ponytail sweating nervously. Izuku, well, it seemed like he wasn't joking he said something relieved but a little serious, everyone sees him I say because I had heard rumors that there was a teacher who expelled the entire class from Class A he said calm and serene and everyone sees the black-haired boy. Aizawa, true, but you have potential. So go back to the classroom and above all there is a pamphlet for the study plan he said smiling evilly leaving everyone except the green-haired boy blankly scared that if they could end up expelled and the dwarf well. He fainted. After they went to the classroom, of course, some began to ask Izuku about his strange transformation, he couldn't reveal much that he would later tell, and then we see Aizawa talking to All Might. All Might, I see that you saw that they have potential, right Aizawa? He said smiling and more the young Midoriya with the Omnitrix. Aizawa, I don't know what you're talking about, but I will tell you one thing. The boy Midoriya will surprise us more with those transformations, he has talent but his power can be used for very evil purposes he said seriously while they both retreated to the teacher's office. After that, classes started normally, math, English and other things to learn, of course thanks to Izuku and the use of gray matter it was easy to solve the equations and problems, that was the moment, of course Izuku and Setsuna became friends with Tenya and Ochako who was almost close to Izuku, which made the green-haired girl a little jealous, but tomorrow the exciting part would begin. The next day. Tsuyu, hey, don't you think Professor Aizawa is taking too long? She said while looking at the others. Kaminari, true why will it take so long he said while wondering. Kanoko. She didn't say anything out of shyness looking at them. Tenya, it is irresponsible to be late he said moving his arms like a robot. Izuku, calm down Ida. He probably had a meeting he said calmly and serenely while playing with the Omnitrix by pressing the button and turning it from side to side. Setsuna, who was sitting next to the green-haired boy hey Izuku you shouldn't play with that, it's a watch not a toy she said whispering but with a serious tone and a slight pout. Izuku, come on Setsuna, This is the worst that can happen, he said in a whisper while smiling mockingly, while continuing to play with the Omnitrix discreetly. But while they were talking, a two-colored man looked at them with a neutral face and especially watching out of the corner of his eye as the green-haired man played with that watch. But then, All Might, I am coming in like a normal person, he said, entering the room in a ridiculous way. All Izuku, All Might, surprised to see the number one hero who is his teacher. Izuku was not impressed but excited to be able to learn from his idol. Everyone was excited, well, not everyone, since some were a bit serious. They looked with respect at the number one hero who was introducing himself and everyone was murmuring. All Might, aha, well, it's time to say what today's class will be. Hero tests, he said while showing a card. Note, right now you will see the recipe change from the change I made in this recipe, because I made this recipe a little more classic so that the previous recipe would be surpassed by an even better recipe XD. Some were confused about what kind of tests would be done, but then they saw the blonde take out a medium tube with a red button. All Might, and for that you will need, he said while pressing the button, and several suitcases with different numbers come out of the wall. All Might, our hero suits, they said, surprised to see their suitcases, and some excited and others seriously take their suitcases. All Might, I'll be waiting for you at the Ganma field, he said as he retreated. Each and every one of them took their bags to go to the Ganma field where the number one pro requested, and of course they had to change and get dressed. Time jump. All Might, remember now, from now on, every time you walk, every villain you face, you must fight with courage. From now on you are heroes, he said while everyone was already outside. You look great, young men, he said with a thumb up. From now on you are heroes, he said while everyone was already outside. You look great, young men, he said with a thumb up. Note, Setsuna, Kanoko and Ibara girls' hero costumes, and replace Sato, Kota and Aoyama with the three of them. Setsuna, has anyone seen Izuku? Asked, trying to find his best friend / secret love. Kirishima, he said he would come right away and was fixing his suit, he said while he was excited. Izuku, I'm sorry for the delay, he said as he arrived. I was trying on my suit but it seems to be tight on the top, he said, arriving in his hero suit, impressing some, and of course he had a green mask hanging from his neck with which he would cover his mouth and nose. Izuku, sorry for the delay, he said as he arrived. I was trying on my suit but it seems to be tight on the top, he said, arriving in his hero suit, impressing some, and of course he had a green mask hanging from his neck with. Note, I like that design that I found in WoW. Kaminari, wow, Midoriya, that suit is great. It has a simple but at the same time strange design, he said while looking at Izuku's hero suit. All Might and Setsuna, it has the Omnitrix symbol, huh? They thought in unison since it was obvious, although for some the design seemed curious. Oh Chaco, Midoriya, the suit looks good on you, she said, approaching him with Setsuna. Setsuna, and boy, yes, Izuku, she said, smiling mockingly. Izuku, thanks girls, although you look good, he said, blushing and looking at how the outfits of his two friends highlighted his body. Oh Chaco, thanks, although mine was too tight, she said, embarrassed. Setsuna, yeah, I thought the same thing, it's well fitting, but whatever. What do you think, Izuku? She asked with a playful grin. Izuku, why yeah, it looks fine, he said, a bit flustered but quickly refocusing on the task. Mineta, the hero course is great, he said, raising his thumb and drooling when he saw what Setsuna did to Izuku. But this one is hit by the green-haired man. Izuku, you see my friends with that face and you know a world of pain, he said in an annoyed tone. All Might, Ajim, calling everyone's attention, well, if you finished it's time for class, he said while turning his back to them for a moment, taking out a note with what they would do, although Izuku was the one who realized it with a large anime drop falling on his head. Well, the simple exercise race to the villain, that is the test that will be done. And I will explain the steps. Let's say that in this city there is a dangerous villain terrorizing or attacking a certain point in the city. In this case the villain will be one of the robots that we use in the exams. There will be 3 villains that must be defeated in a certain time. For example, those villains are robbing a bank and are having hostages and are escaping. So their exercise consists of locating where the villains are, but as they are just adapting, the villains will be 30 meters away in a certain place that they will indicate. But be careful, you will not believe that it will be easy since obstacles will be put to prevent them from reaching the villains, since when a chase begins to chase the villain, they must be careful of the damage and above all save the people who are on the streets during the chase, right? Momo, how will victory be defined? Raising his right hand asking that. Katsuki, can they be killed? He asked evilly and threateningly. Oh Chaco, won't there be expulsion if one fails the test? She asked nervously and worried. Ida, how will we make the teams? Asking while moving his arms like a robot. Setsuna, can we choose our partner? She asked, wanting to be Izuku's partner. All Might, please be quiet, I will answer your questions and clarifications. Well, I will tell you what it consists of, he said, a little irritated and a little annoyed by how many questions the students asked about that last thing you told me, young lady Tokage. It will be random about the couples, since it is planned very well that they work with others so that they get to know each other, he said calmly with a smile, although Setsuna made a pout of annoyance. Ida, why a random draw? He asked, something curious, moving his arms again like a robot. Izuku, that's because you need to work with someone you should know, Ida. For example, Setsuna and I know each other very well, but at some point when we go on a mission I will have to take a partner assigned to me who is new, and they ask me to instruct him and also know how to use his quirk for certain missions. Since there is no point in working with the same person, you have to learn to work with others, and when you know the quirks and such, when a higher class mission happens, use the quirks and combinations to fulfill the objective and reduce the percentage of minimum damage, he said, seriously explaining the situation and astonishing everyone. And more the blue-haired man, since I do not expect that technically the green-haired man was very good at that. All Might, correct young Midoriya, and with it you will learn not only to know the quirks of each and every one, in case of an emergency that one loses control of his power, or is controlled by a villain, you give information to your companions of your strengths and weaknesses, he said, raising his thumb. Kenya, I see an example of the prestigious Academy UA, he said excitedly and praising and moving his arms like a robot. All Might, okay. It's time for the random draw, he said, having two colored boxes that had the numbers there. When they have the same number, it will be the one that touched whoever has the same number. After a while the teams were ready. Team A. Izuku Midoriya and Momo Yaoyorozu. B Team. Ochako Uraka and Eiichiro Kirishima. Team C. Shoto Todoroki and Tenya Ida. D Team. Katsuki Bakugo and Hantasero. Team E. Mizu Shoji and Setsuna Togaki. Team F. Fumikage Tokoyami and Mashirao Ojiro. Team G. Tsuyu Asui and Kanoko Komori. Team H. Mina Ashido and Minoru Mineta. Team I. Toru Hagakure and Denki Kaminari. Team J. Ibara Shiozaki and Kyokajiru. All Might, well, it seems that they are ready, isn't it? He said while looking at the students, although there was an ashen blonde annoyed that it should be combat training. Well, it will be an alphabetical order of teams in which the teams will go. Well, Team A, go prepare, the others follow me to the surveillance room, he said, while the green-haired and black-haired, and of course the green-haired, felt the annoyed look of a certain Muslim but ignored that. Oh, before I forget, stopping to win the test, there are two ways: one, by defeating all the villains, or rescue the civilians and not let them die in vain, and that if you get to a checkpoint safely. Time jump. Izuku, well, now that they gave us the plans for the map of the area, I introduce myself properly. I am Izuku Midoriya, it is a pleasure to work with you, he said, introducing himself formally. Momo, nice to meet you Midoriya, and let me introduce myself. I'm Momo Yaoyorozu, equally delighted to work with you, she said with a warm smile and speaking calmly. You know, before we start we should know each other's quirk, don't you think? Izuku, if it seems fine to me, he said while thinking about what he could say about his quirk. Until something occurred to him. My quirk is called Omnitrix, he said, while the girl was curious about that name, of why her power is called that, but she will leave it for later, you see. Let's say it was quirkless, he said, that leaving a worried Momo. She knew what the life of those who did not have power was like, and when she saw Katsuki's attitude yesterday she understood that the ashen blonde has contempt for the quirkless. That bothered her, but she would think later, and well, you can imagine how I went through this. It turns out that I did have a quirk, but for that I had to have something to stabilize my transformations, since when I created this watch showing the Omnitrix, apparently it allowed me to stabilize my forms. Momo, ooh, interesting, let's see, he said while looking at the Omnitrix. No wonder your watch seems strange to me, but it's funny it doesn't have the time, he said, looking more at the device. So you couldn't take those forms because it wasn't stable? Interesting. Izuku, that's right, although I decided that they are alien forms, he said nervously as he saw the girl looking at the Omnitrix and her with a confused face. Momo, really? I think it makes sense, since it's better to say that than monsters, she said curiously. Oh right, sorry, I have to tell you my quirk. It's creation. I can create anything, as long as I know the type of material that each thing is made of, and in order to create I have to eat some things to be able to create, although my suit is a little revealing. Izuku, that's a fantastic quirk Yaoyorozu, besides that, creating is incredible. We could really put together a strategy together, he said excitedly, praising her and smiling at her. Also, you don't have to dress like that in your suit, it's understandable that it's for your quirk. Momo, thanks, he blushing very slightly but happy that someone praised her quirk and her heroine costume. While in the surveillance room. All Might, good lie young Midoriya, he said internally relieved, hoping they don't suspect the Omnitrix. Setsuna, it's a good thing we thought of that excuse for not revealing the watch, she felt internally relieved. Note, I came up with the idea of making Izuku lie that he always had a quirk but couldn't use it because his forms were unstable as they caused damage to his body, and that by creating that watch that is technological and intelligent, it turned out that he could adapt his forms more thanks to the watch, of course, so that no one would know that it is the most powerful weapon in the universe. It's like telling how Aoyama's quirk in the anime UF the truth gave me a hard blow that his quirk is not compatible with it, and apart it depends on the body. It's like Izuku tries to couple the Ofa inside him, but the consequences appear. But if the same thing happened to me as to him, that his quirk is not compatible, I would feel the same. As much as I had a great power, I would feel useless and not be able to protect those I love. Tenya, what could that watch be? He asked curiously while Setsuna and All Might got a little tense, but curiosity invaded the others. Tokoyami has a somewhat strange design, more so when Midoriya in training had that symbol, said curious. Katsuki, TKS, no matter what it is, that nerd won't beat me, he said with annoyance, although he hid his curiosity about that watch well. Shoto, Tokage getting the green-haired girl's attention, do you know what it is? Setsuna, oh, the clock? He said that he barely reacted and pointing at the screen, I could say it, but when Izuku has time he will tell them. Shoto : okay, thinking for a few moments and answers neutrally. Oh, Chaco, I wonder if he will use the technological thing or the one with 4 arms? Curious to know like the others. Back in the field. Momo, oh, so you have 10 aliens plus 1 extra? She said curiously, looking at the green-haired boy. Izuku, that's right, he said nervously and sighing internally with relief. The good thing is that the Omnitrix is not so flashy as to attract attention. Well, we should prepare, for he was about to say something else but was interrupted. All Might, time to prepare is up. You have at least 30 minutes to get to the place where the villains are, he said while giving the signal and the siren sounds. Momo, it's time, so which one will you use, Midoriya? She said as they both run away together while the green-haired man adjusts his mask. Izuku, I have one in mind that I want to use today, since with this new alien that I train it will be useful to us, he said smiling although it is not noticeable. He activates the Omnitrix and a silhouette appears. It's time to be a hero. Pressing the ring down. Cannon bolt, it's time to roll. Yaoyorozu will take you, he said while the large being that surprised the black-haired girl is carried princess style. Blushing her and the Arbarian Pellerota alien rolls up like a huge sphere and begins to roll quickly. As they moved forward, in the surveillance room they were surprised by the way Izuku transformed, but Setsuna smiled when she saw that the green-haired man used the new alien for today. She still remembers how he unlocked it and they had problems. Flashback. Cannon bolt, god, this is difficult, but at least I know how to handle this new alien, right Setsuna? He said looking at the green-haired girl. Setsuna, you look like a big bowling ball, she said mockingly at that the Omnitrix gives a signal and Izuku becomes human again. Izuku, okay, it's time to write down, and record taking out his book to write down. Once the test was over, our protagonist and the black-haired girl returned, and when they arrived, almost everyone except Shoto and Katsuki praised them, especially Izuku, for his transformation, although he was curious to know about the clock, which made the green-haired girl a little tense, but since he used that excuse with Momo, he could do the same with them. But All Might saved their skin. All Might, young questions and answers for later, for now let's focus on what matters about the results of the students, he said while some were confused. Kyoka, but didn't Midoriya's team win? She said curiously like the rest. Melissa, it refers to the performance they gave in the test, she said with a warm smile. Izuku, who are you? Curious like Momo since they were the only two who didn't know about her. Melissa, I'm Melissa Shield. I'm quirkless and I come from the support department, she introduced herself formally in addition to being my Uncle Might's niece. That surprised most, and with a grimace of disgust in Katsuki, All Might's niece, in addition to looking very beautiful. Izuku, wait Shield, you are the daughter of David Shield, he said excitedly like the rest. Oh god, I have many questions to ask you. Oh, maybe know what your father's job is like, since he was your father's partner who designed vehicles and hero suits for All Might. Very excited. Setsuna, excuse him, when he talks about All Might he won't stop, she said laughing funny and gives him a slap. Come on, dude, speak well. Tenya and Momo, language, they scolded him. Katsuki, sometimes it's funny, laughing like crazy seeing how Izuku got zapped. Oh Chaco, you're sick Bruce Wayne, she said looking at the ash blonde with a face of no shit Bakugo. Izuku, sorry, apologizing sincerely and making Melissa laugh lightly. Melissa, you are someone curious, Midoriya, right? she said with an angelic smile that made most of the other men blush a little because they are cold and neutral anyway. What my uncle meant is that it is to play an important role in the training, as I saw, Midoriya and I. Momo Yaoyorozu said, introducing herself, while the blonde-haired girl laughed nervously since she didn't know the names of the others. Melissa, sorry if I don't know all of your names, she said embarrassedly while clearing her throat. Getting back to the topic, you see, in the exercise, Team A played the role of distracting the enemy. For example, it was seen how Midoriya destroyed the robot to attract the attention of the other two so that Yaoyorozu could rescue the civilians, and instead of Midoriya destroying them, he disarmed them to keep the civilians safe, since if somehow another villain appeared he would attack him while he was distracted, he said, smiling, surprising everyone. All Might, exactly Melissa, and also avoiding the reduction of construction destruction, he said with a drop of sweat because of how smart his niece was. Well, now let's move on to the next participants. Narrator, since we don't want too much sauce and too much good filler, I will explain how each team did. B Team. Ochako Uraka and Eiichiro Kirishima. They did almost the same as Izuku and Momo, only Kirishima went all out destroying them, while Ochako made them float as much as she could to rescue them. After removing the gravity, only 2 robots were destroyed and 1 was unharmed. He was about to attack them, but Kirishima, using his quirk, hit him and managed to destroy him, and in the end Team B won, although Ochako vomited at the end because she couldn't hold on much longer. Team C. Shoto Todoroki and Tenya Ida. This was curious but complicated, because Tenya, despite being strict, could hardly get Shoto to talk. Once they arrived, they started the plan. The blue-haired man would use his speed to rescue the hostages and of course being chased by the robots, so the blue-haired man decided to go to a secluded place where he was supposed to be trapped, and once the plan to be trapped was executed, Shoto appeared and destroyed the robots by creating ice stakes that destroyed them, and then go to the checkpoint and win. Tenya celebrated and wanted to give Shoto his good companion's hand, but Shoto ignores him, which confused the blue-haired man because of the bicolor's attitude. D Team. Katsuki Bakugo and Hanta Sero. This was, how to put it, wild. Sero only rescued the civilians, but as soon as Katsuki arrived with the robots, he immediately caused explosions and destruction, however causing a lot of damage, something that many anime go to guarded, others with faces saying this Muslim won't change, and almost hit the civilians. If it weren't for Sero they would have failed, although when they arrived Katsuki received a reprimand for the damage. Team E. Mizu Shoji and Setsuna Togaki. These, not being combatants, had a plan, which was for Shoji to distract them so that they would come towards him. Although a robot stayed watching, he did not realize that some floating hands reached an exposed part of the robot to open it and pull the cables, causing the robot to lose control, accelerating to full speed, causing it to crash into the other robots, and after that save the civilians. Team F. Fumikage Tokoyami and Masharao Ojiro. These two, upon arriving, quickly took the civilians using Tokoyami's quirk, and then Ojiro hit them hard with his tail using kung fu movements, and then upon reaching the checkpoint they were able to pass the test, since it was somewhat fast, to be honest. Team G. Tsuyu Asui and Kanoko Komori. Kanoko may be shy, but when the time comes for her mushrooms to reach her enemies, she becomes somewhat sadistic if it is about mushrooms, something that made Tsuyu nervous, but it was not noticeable. Both thought of a plan, so Tsuyu jumping and using her tongue, Kanoko sprayed her sprinklers with a violet essence, and when it spread to the 3 robots, mushrooms came out of them, beginning to cover each and every one of them and in every part, and not only that, they covered certain circuits with slightly larger mushrooms, thus managing to save the civilians. Team H. Mina Ashido and Minoru Mineta. There wasn't much to highlight, since even though Mineta threw his balls at the robots and they stuck really well, and Mina let go of her grip to melt their weapons and rescue civilians, Mineta received a real beating for trying to touch Mina and trying to get her accidentally trapped by one of Mineta's balls. Team I. Toru Hagakure and Denki Kaminari. It was curious and funny, because first Denki launched his rays, calling their attention, while Toru, who did not have his gloves and shoes, approached stealthily, taking the civilians and getting as far away as possible. Of course, in the end Denki did something stupid and released 1.3 million volts, leaving Pikachu defective. Even though he destroyed the robots, he caused slight damage to a few structures, and of course the invisible girl dragged him away. Team J. Ibara Shiozaki and Kyokajiru. Both were serious, although Ibara prayed to God to grant them victory, and Kyoka looked at her with anime eyes, but anyway when they arrived they thought of a plan. So from a distance the purple-haired girl used her sound waves, causing the robots to have a little damage to their system, making them move from one side to the other, and the green-haired girl used her vines to capture the 3 of them and leave them immobilized, and then the 2 of them took the civilians to the checkpoint and won. And once the exercise is completed. All Might, very good job young people, you did well young people, he said, raising his thumb while the others were smiling, some others neutral. Serious, by the way, Melissa, don't you have classes? Melissa, oh, I forgot, man, it's just that Professor Power Loader asked me to come and supervise the team of heroes that some of them have and that they work well, she said with a smile. All Might, ha ha ha, that's my niece, and don't doubt it guys, she's a genius when it comes to technology, so don't hesitate to ask the support department for some modifications, he said, smiling. Well, I'm leaving now, I'll see you later, he said, leaving faster than the Road Runner. That brought out every single anime drop. Kirishima, he ran away at full speed, said with anime drop. Tsuyu, I wonder why he left so quickly, she said while putting an index finger on her chin. Kaminari, when nature calls, you have to go, he said while the girls looked at them confused. Izuku, he means going to the bathroom, he laughing while clearing up his doubts. Melissa, and why don't they say it like that? She said, even though she already knew her uncle's condition and why he left so quickly. Mineta, communication for men would not understand it, he said while the boys including Katsuki and Shoto nod their heads. Girls, men rolling eyes to the other side. Author, they wouldn't understand it, he said while taking out a book of the best phrases and stupidities of men. Amen gentlemen, amen. After that everyone went to the locker room to change. While returning we see the three beings that were still there. Those humans are dangerous, and even more so the one who uses explosions, he said while typing on a technological floating virtual screen. And why don't we attack the one who carries the Omnitrix, said the crustacean guy. Speaking in strange language. I know that 6-6, but we have to be careful, not for nothing was this solar system classified as forbidden, he said while finishing searching. Besides we have to do it stealthily. Crop, you're not my boss, and fine as you wish, Tetrax, he said with annoyance in his voice. If we don't hurry up the human can learn more about the Omnitrix and more with that new shape that the watch has, he said seriously and insistent. Tetrax, remember that in this world there are beings that can complicate things for us, and much less that they know that aliens exist, he said seriously while they each go on their own but they would go hunting. Flashback. Meanwhile, in some corner of the galaxy, some lights turn on showing three aliens, who began by destroying the robots, both small and large. Those were Tetrax, 6-6, and Crop, the three best bounty hunters on certain planets. They hunt and take their prizes and profit to survive, but, when the test ended, Vilgax, excellent, since you have your ships to go to the star rings, you will go to the forbidden sector, he said seriously on screen, surprising the three aliens. Tetrax, to the solar system where evolved humans live, he said surprised and curious. 6-6. Speaking in a serious and annoyed tone. Crop, 6-6 is right, why does he send us to that place where humans are now more dangerous? He said with the same annoyance but curious. Vilgax, they're going for something important, the Omnitrix said seriously, surprising the three and showing it on the screen, but one of them tensed but silent. Find me the Omnitrix and your reward will be greater, and if it happens that the bearer was, let's say, someone really valuable, your profit will be doubled, he said this, which interested two of the hunters a lot except Tetrax. And by the way Tetrax, I've heard that you are someone quite skilled when it comes to codes, to go to Earth, since if the Galactic Order finds out, we would get into serious trouble. Note, Vilgax obviously fears nothing, except the Galactic Order, since it is a mysterious group that no one, not even aliens like Azimuth, know who they are, but it is said that they are the ones who judge and above all put in order, and when they found out about the Bone Land, the one from Boku no Hero developed an evolution, and if they go to Earth without special codes, which will be told in this chapter but later, in order to go to Earth without getting into trouble. Tetrax, yes sir, Vilgax answering calmly although very serious inside. Vilgax, very well, they will report me for anything, he said while the screen went black while the evil alien was crushing some kind of giant alien, subduing it. I hope they don't fail me. And in that three different ships with a somewhat strange design head towards the forbidden solar system, of course using special codes to reach Earth. End of flashback. Tetrax. Seriously as they left. After finishing today's exercise, the others forgot to ask the green-haired boy about his watch, but it seems that he left earlier with Setsuna, since they had to go shopping. Setsuna, well, we just need beef, she said while looking at the list. I still don't understand why you like katsudon since you were little. Izuku, he's my precious one, don't judge me, he said in an angry tone but with an adorable pout. Setsuna, how does he have such an innocent face and a warrior's body? It's not fair. She thought while blushing before shaking her head. Well, let's just get this over with, she said embarrassed while they go for the pork. Izuku, what will happen to him? He said curiously with a question mark over his head. Note, Ah dear, an innocent broccolito uke viable, so innocent not so much, but oh well xd. After shopping, they both continued on their way home, both walking while enjoying each other's company, but before they reached the street, the green-haired boy stopped dead. Setsuna, hey, what's wrong Izuku? She asked curiously, looking at him, although the boy had a gloomy look that covered his eyes as well as his hair. Izuku, I forgot that today is the All Might Unlimited Edition card, getting excited with his eyes bulging out, causing the green-haired girl to fall anime style. Setsuna, idiot, don't scare me like that, she said, giving him a good slap on the head. You few and your fanaticism, you know you should control that, you know? She sighed resignedly, knowing how her best friend is, but she still liked him the way he was. Izuku, hee hee, I'm sorry, and ouch, rubbing his head while giving the other bag to Setsuna. I'll be back soon, okay? Setsuna, okay, be careful, it's starting to get dark, she said while looking at him worriedly as she saw him leave quickly. Oh god, going home. After the green-haired girl crossed the street to get to the house and enter, we see our green-haired boy continue running but being followed by one of them. Crop, foolish human, said, disappointed at that fanaticism. Then the metallic alien follows him in a stealthy way without making noise and with camouflage. After following him to an All Might store, the green-haired man entered. It took him about 5 minutes and he left quickly, something that the crop was already starting to get annoyed by the impatience. So he saw that the boy was going to cross a large and lonely park without many buildings or areas except for a lake that was not so big but not small either. Crop, how strange, he said while advancing silently and slowly. It is supposed that what happened here could not have disappeared. But what he doesn't know is that Izuku, TKS, I was right. If they are following me, I think it's an alien, he said, truly assuming that Crop is an alien since his design and everything else was not from Earth. They must look for the Omnitrix, as I supposed, and they didn't attack when I was with Setsuna, he said seriously. The reason why the Proto realized his presence is that when he took the robot equipment that he managed to modify and above all know what his mission was, with the help of gray matter and Ultra T, he created a device like a radar with that would help him warn if there is an invasion of robots coming for the Omnitrix, but he feared that some alien would come to Earth. So he was working on a device to detect alien presence, but the problem was that he needed something else to be able to track. Maybe he would not know if there would be attacks by aliens or robots, but he was lucky that he always had the feeling since he was a child that he was being followed, since as we know our Proto is quirkless, and when being followed either by abusers or those who would obviously bother him, he always had that feeling since he was little. Izuku, well, I think I have an idea. If I immobilize him with Stinkfly, I can escape and warn a professional hero that there is a villain, which would force him to flee based on my assumption that they haven't attacked me so as not to cause a ruckus, he whispered and muttered as always, but less so that the crop alien wouldn't find him. Oh, I can use XLR8. Yes, someone better go fast, he said while selecting the XLR8 icon. It's time to be a hero. But when he pressed the button, he didn't notice the silhouette that changed in the last second. The green light was bright as the crop became aware of their presence. The green light was so intense that the crop noticed their presence, although on the other hand. Aquatic, what, but if I, damn Omnitrix, you fooled me, he said incredulously and exalted, looking at the Omnitrix symbol on his left side. And here's a shooting sound, shit. Managing to dodge the shot at the last second. Crop, wow, it seems that you transformed into a Piscis volans, he said, naming the aquatic species to the surprise of the protagonist pathetically. I expected a challenge, but you only turned out to be a disappointment. Aquatic, fuck XLR8, I will defeat you with my jaws and claws, he said, running towards him, jumping ready to scratch him. Crop, you'll have to do more than that, human, he said, ready to use his pincers to catch him. But just at that moment the alien Piscis volans dodges him by entering the lake. Do you think you can beat me underwater? I don't think so. He was about to use an electric weapon, but then a rock hits him in the head. Who was the fool who threw this at me? He takes the rock and destroys it angrily and looking at Setsuna. I was a tin head, she said while pointing at herself. Aquatic, but what? Setsuna sees how the robot was about to attack her, but quickly the Piscis volans jumped high, scratching her back and biting her arm hard with the pincers, damaging it, then jumping to the side to be with Setsuna. What the hell are you doing here, Setsuna? Setsuna, please, it's been days since they sent any robots like that day, Izuku, and when you got like that I didn't buy that thing about the card, because I know you well enough, she said with annoyance and anger, and I also heard with my ear pointing to her ear that she took it off and put it back on. Aquatic, I didn't want you to be hurt, he said with annoyance but with concern, but then I'll buy you something. Setsuna, you better. They get into combat stance. Crop, damn humans, even though they evolved they were right to classify this forbidden place, he said seriously while looking at them, a little hurt and confusing the two, but something tells me that their heads would be worth much more. Aquatic, your head will be the one that tears it off your head, he said, running quickly towards the crustacean. Setsuna, Don't forget that we are two, she said seriously, running with Aquatic. Both run towards the Crop, who attacks them with his sword with his left hand, and with his right hand he shoots a beam of energy. Both barely dodge it, that is if the Pisces Valans used his claws and jaws to damage it, but the crustacean moved away. Setsuna used her quirk to try to distract it, but before the girl did that, she is bathed by a strange sticky substance, but at the same time quickly drying almost her entire body except her hands and head. Setsuna, but what is this? She said, immobilized. I can't move. Crop, it is a special liquid glue that dries quickly, and even when it hardens it remains dry. Aquatic, hey, free her, he said angrily, throwing himself, but he is hit hard and thrown towards a tree. Ouch, that hurt. Crop, now he has them, but he is hit by a powerful jet of water, but another one cut off his right arm. A curse that forced him to escape underground. Setsuna, but what was he saying while he saw what happened, and then he saw two people. Are you okay, young lady? He said while a man in a hero suit with a helmet and a sailor's clothing helps the girl. I'll take care of that creature, said a woman going towards where Aquatico was. Setsuna, why yes, I'm fine. Wait, he's my best friend, she said, relieved but startled, thinking that they would attack Izuku. Really? The woman looked incredulously at what the green-haired girl was saying. Aquatic, it's the truth, only my quirk allows me to transform into an aquatic being, he said, and then gasped, I can't breathe, I need water. Alice, give her water, said the man while creating a small water blade to free the girl. Wow, this thing is really hard, but not for long. Alice, it's okay, Adam, he said while helping the Pisces Valans and wetting him with his water. Note, since we don't know the names of Kota's parents, I took the liberty of giving them those names. Aquatic, thank you, he said, grateful, but when he saw them better he was surprised. I can't believe it, they are the duo water hosts. Surprising, the two mentioned they are incredible. Wait a second, goes for his backpack. Would you sign my notebook, please? Setsuna, first that robot would have almost turned us into mush, and here you are with your stuff. Separates his hands, giving him a slap. Bastard. That brought out a mega drop of anime in the two of them, although a slight laugh. After half an hour, the four of them walked towards the Midoriya house. Adam, I see, we'll let it go for this time, young people, he said, understanding that the green-haired boy was attacked by an unknown villain and that she came to help him, but I'm surprised that you can turn into that creature, boy. Izuku, yes, that's how it was, and my alien form is called Aquatic, he said while they were walking, and he laughed embarrassed, although with a bump on his head from the green-haired girl's bump. Alice and Adam, alien? Confused by how the boy named his form. Setsuna, it's just that if we say creature or monster it will sound ugly, she said, smiling embarrassedly. Already after they arrived at the door, Inko was waiting for them, but with the flip-flop, sweeper, broom and roller in a row, scaring the two of them. Inko, thank you very much for saving them, water horse, she said with a warm smile while both green-haired boys wanted to escape, but they were held by their shoulders by Inko. I don't know how to thank them. Alice, just don't get into trouble again, she said, smiling, understanding how Inko is as a mother. Adam, well, we're leaving, honey, we have to go pick up Kota for my cousin, he said, nervously remembering his mother, how he once got into trouble. After the two green-haired men left, they prayed to the one above so that Inko would have mercy on them both, but in the meantime. 6-6. Said in strange languages to Crop. Crop, shut up, annoyed while his ship's system repaired him. How was I supposed to know that more angry humans would appear? Arg. I won't be able to go for our prey. Ketrax, that's what you get for being so confident. That human is smarter than we thought, we need something to catch him, he said, thinking of a plan. Crop, the human girl said, calling the attention of both. She seemed worried about that human. I think it's her weakness, she said in a malicious tone while her arm was repaired while also repairing her back and head. 6-6. Continuing to speak in a strange language. Ketrax, that could help us hunt him down, he said seriously while they prepared the trap. The next day, everything was normal classes, practice and hero training. And apparently there is a fault in Izuku. Every time he wants to select an alien it transforms him into something else that he did not ask for. That had not happened. Now it did present a fault, thinking that the clock was broken, but since it cannot be detached to use Ultra T or gray matter to find out something, he decided not to move anything. But one thing is that it attracted Izuku's curiosity. It was the species that the crustacean said in the form of Aquatica Piscis Valans, so he wrote it down in his analysis of alien forms, and not only that, he spoke seriously with three people in the director's office. Aizawa, you're lucky that water hose went easy on you. Problem, boy sighed annoyed, and now we have a problem. All Might, we must be alert in case that alien that attacked you yesterday appears. Young Midoriya, he said seriously but keeping his slight smile. Nezu, this is really bad, he said seriously while thinking, and is there any way you can locate him? Izuku, in fact, I tried to use my 2 aliens to create a radar capable of tracking alien signals, but it seems that I haven't achieved anything. I would need alien DNA, and the detail is that it would only track or warn me if more robots like the other day would come to Earth to attack again. Heavy and serious sigh. After that talk, Izuku returned to class, of course worried about them lying and if it's not just one and if there are more. He had to be attentive and keep Setsuna away from danger in case that metallic crustacean appeared again, but one thing. Izuku realized that if he followed him it meant that he doesn't work alone, and more so if he stopped Setsuna so easily with that thing, then. Izuku didn't think twice, so when he left he would look for that alien and stop it. Then at the exit. Setsuna, damn, checked her pockets, it's not there. Izuku, what's this, Setsuna? Looking at her confused. Setsuna, my dinosaur keychain, the one you gave me when we were kids, I was desperately looking for it. Izuku, calm down Setsuna, look, if he gets lost you don't have to. I was about to say something but. Setsuna, it's important to me, because you gave it to me, she said seriously and whispered that last thing, confusing the green-haired boy. It didn't take long, maybe he fell silent when we left the academy. She ran back. Izuku, God. I should have told her that it's not important, that I'm very worried, he said seriously and worried, so he decides to follow her, but unfortunately there were many people crossing the street, losing sight of her shit. While with Setsuna. Setsuna, I guess I shouldn't have been hard on him. She felt stupid for talking to him in that tone, but it's just that. It's the first gift he gave me when they made fun of me, she said, but then she saw something on the floor. My keychain, she said, and then she picked it up from the floor. Note, many will say it's just a keychain, but we know when that special person gives you something that means a lot to you, you feel so much appreciation that you never put aside that object, article or something that special person gave you, made by hand or something like that. For example, in real life I have the watch that belonged to my late father. Even though it is a replaceable object, it is an object carried by someone I appreciate a lot. My dad was my idol, someone who truly cared about me and my family. But in this case, a capture net is also used to enclose it in a cell in the shape of a crystalline cube. Setsuna, but what, using her quirk to remove the net but tries to hit the bucket but nothing. Let me go, let me go. Tetrax, it's nothing personal, girl, he said, appearing out of nowhere with a camouflage system. If you want to be a good girl, you better behave, he said while pressing a button and the cube floated. After a while. Izuku, I'm almost there, but it's strange. Usually, when Setsuna finds something she lost, she comes quickly and sees a small knife buried with a note. Setsuna running while putting that knife in her backpack and keeping the note that said, come to this abandoned lot where no one will see us. If you want to go back to your friend, you better not call anyone or else we will kill her. After about half an hour, the green-haired man arrived at a plot of land that was being demolished, although it still had some things left, like 4 floors and a few other things, and when he arrived he was attentive. Izuku, I am here now, release Setsuna, he said out loud, calling him. Tetrax, you finally arrived, human, said the being next to the alien who fought a little with Izuku yesterday and another unknown to the green-haired man. She's asleep. Your little friend didn't shut up at all, pointing to a bucket with an unconscious girl. Izuku, if they did something to him, I swear I will tear them to pieces, he said, very upset and angry. 6-6. Talking while the green-haired boy is confused. Crop, 6-6 says, we hope you try. Normally we capture our prey and take them to our buyers, but I want revenge for yesterday's humiliation, and what better way than to hit you, he said in a malicious and annoyed tone. Tetrax, pressing a button in the box, moved. I will watch them, while I secure the girl so she doesn't try anything, he whispered to them while taking Setsuna. 6-6. Still saying in that strange language. Crop, get ready, human, because we are going to enjoy it like you can't imagine, he said with a malicious and mocking tone, beginning to shoot at the green-haired man. Izuku, wow, he dodges this quickly while going to hide in some rubble. Curse, I must use 4 arms or diamond. No wait, he said while looking at the structure. If I do that, the structure would crush us and more would catch me like a rat. I have to think of something. That's it, he said, selecting the icon. Please Omnitrix, don't fail me, he said while pressing the ring with the icon selected. That's it, he said while selecting the icon. Please Omnitrix, don't fail me, he said while pressing the ring with the icon selected. Insectoid, oof, at least evil, he said, relieved. Well, first I have to prepare everything, he said while instead of flying he used his legs while placing mucus on different sides of the place. 6-6. While taking out their weapons, each one decided to chase him and hunt him while they were looking for him. In that the alien Lepidopteran fired his mucus from a distance place in the little darkness that there was. The alien 6-6 dodges it by shooting towards where it came from, but without knowing that the hero was planning a trap. In that Crop, when walking, looks at the mucus, for which he easily passes it with mockery, but in that he feels a noise that is heard and does not hesitate to shoot, and the crustacean noticed that the one he shot was 6-6, which bothered him. Both began to argue, but then Insectoid arrives and hitting them with his tail while throwing things to distract them, in that both separate to shoot, but that is what the boy wanted, for them to shoot, and at the moment of dodging they would give each other, causing them to fight again and then give their next move, but in that a blow of the tail pushes him towards Crop, who holds him while both are filled with green mucus. And not only that, the alien quickly with all his insect strength pushed a half-loose pillar so that the part of that structure would collapse, burying them, and to make sure, the Lepidopteran alien sprayed more sticky mucus in case of emergency. Insectoid: okay, now go find Setsuna and that guy and give him a sting in the butt. Okay, that sounded almost gay, he said seriously, although he makes a poker face, so he flies away quickly to look. After about 5 minutes. Insectoid: Setsuna, he said when he saw that she was still in the cube, and he flies towards her, but by instinct he shoots everywhere while he puts his back against the cube. If you're going to fight, you'd better show up. Tetrax: you know you're good, even assuming that I would leave her in an easy place, he said while coming out of the shadows, and out of nowhere a shield surrounds the three of them. Now we are alone. Insectoid: if you think that by reducing the space you are very wrong, my friend, you messed with the wrong person. He said, ready to attack, but diamonds come out of the ground and imprison him. Hey, but what? These diamonds, what about you? Tetrax: he didn't say anything while the helmet he was wearing began to separate into parts and then put away, revealing his face. That's right, I'm from the same species as the alien you have in the Omnitrix, a Petrosapiens. He didn't say anything while the helmet he was wearing began to separate into parts and then put away, revealing his face. That's right, I'm from the same species as the alien you have in the Omnitrix, a Petrosapiens. Insectoid: it can't be, if you're like Diamond, why are you going after the Omnitrix? He said seriously while he was about to use his snot, but he is pointed at the head by Tetrax's gun. TKS. Tetrax: now listen to what I have to tell you, human. The reason is to protect the Omnitrix, he said seriously, surprising him. As you may have known, the Omnitrix is the most powerful weapon in the universe just by demonstrating what you did in your alien forms, but that's not all. But the alien who hired me wants it at all costs. That does include destroying the Earth if necessary, he said seriously, scaring the Lepidopteran alien. Insectoid: so you are one of the good ones? He said while the Petrosapiens nodded. But then why didn't you tell me anything, and didn't you reveal yourself? Setsuna: why would he tell us about what really happens? She said while sitting comfortably on the cube. Insectoid: SS Setsuna, are you okay? He said, shouting excitedly, but he realizes something. Wait a minute, maybe you. Setsuna: yes, when he captured me he told me that. He said while telling her. Flashback. Setsuna: what are you going to do to me if you go after my friend? I assure you that you will regret it, she said, annoyed while being taken by Tetrax. Tetrax: listen to me, he said seriously, silencing her, showing his face, surprising her. I need you to trust me. I want you to pretend to be unconscious, and believe me, your friend will come but to a trap. Luckily I told my two companions that I have a trap ready for your friend, but in reality I must talk to you, and above all know that the Omnitrix is safe, he said seriously. For now, trust me please. Setsuna was against the wall of the cube, but seeing the seriousness and how that alien revealed his face, showing that it was the type of alien that Izuku has in the Omnitrix, so he sighs and nods. Fine, but you will tell me. End of flashback. Insectoid: so you never heard him? Amazed, looking at the Petrosapiens, who nods. I'm sorry if. Tetrax: don't worry boy, he said while releasing him. I did it to try to take you with me to have the Omnitrix removed, he said seriously, exalting the two. But when I saw you in that rescue test that the students in that academy take to be heroes, I saw how you handled the situation. You didn't get carried away by emotions, you analyze and think about everything. So I was flattering Izuku and was about to say it, but in that the field is destroyed by a powerful laser. Crop: and to think you were someone good, but now 6-6 and I are talking and we have decided to take the three of you to the buyer, he said seriously, ready to capture you. 6-6. Speaking in the language, looking very upset, taking out his multiple weapons and tentacles. Tetrax: well, come for me, he said, pressing a button, releasing Setsuna. Go away both of you, he said while creating a crystal shield behind his back so they would leave, while firing his weapons and Diamond to try to gain time. While on the other side. Insectoid: no wait, he said, hitting the Diamond. Damn, if it had 4 arms it would destroy it, he said, frustrated. Setsuna: Izuku, there's nothing we can do. What we can do is call the professionals. She said the same, frustrated since the Petrosapiens wasn't bad and didn't hurt her. Insectoid: damn, it's useless for me not to be able to change my appearance. If only I could help him, but how? Frustrated, hitting the glass, but suddenly everything went dark. While what happened to our protagonist, we see Tetrax fight Crop in 6-6. Crop: take this traitor, shooting with his ray towards the Petrosapiens. Tetrax: You forget that I am Diamond, he said while reflecting the attack, but it was a distance. 6-6. Shooting with his plasma weapons, hitting him in the back, then hitting him in the face, and with an iron pipe he hits him even harder in the face consecutively until making a slight crack in his face. Tetrax, TKS annoyed, he throws many diamond projectiles, which the two dodged, but when he took a wrong step back an energy network trap caught him, electrocuting him. Crop, tell me what it feels like, or do you feel this? He said, using his pliers to violently tear off his right arm. I wonder what will happen if I crush your face, or piece by piece his other arm and leg, since it takes you a while to regenerate. 6-6. He said it seriously but mockingly, making Tetrax angry, who was still trapped. Tetrax, SHUSH, he said annoyed while his other arm was grabbed ready to be torn off. Crop, sabes recuerdo que tu especie los petrosapiens tu gente fueron destruidos por Vilgax, pero resulta que sabemos quien hizo el trabajo sucio el poder ayudarlo decía burlandos de Tetrax quien baja la mirada le dará el gusto de destruir el último de tu especie. Tetrax ve el lado bueno, al menos estarás con tu familia. Tetrax looks down thinking that everything is done, at least they would take him, and above all the two green-haired men would call more humans to help. 6-6. Said seriously while taking out some kind of alien cell phone. Crop, those brats and the Omnitrix may be gone, but now you're coming with us, and don't worry, Vilgax will know what he'll do to you, he said seriously. They were about to call the ship, but then why don't you just leave? Said a deep and robust voice coming out of the darkness. It was nothing more and nothing less than 4 arms, giving them a powerful blow, sending them out. Take that, vermin. Tetrax, but what are you doing here? They should have left and called more heroes to help them, he said while watching the alien Tetraman free him. Also, ugh, how did you change if the time on the clock takes a certain amount of time to load? 4 arms, I know, but let's say that the Omnitrix helped me, he said seriously looking at the device on his left arm, the first one up to the top of his second left arm. Flashback a few minutes ago. Izuku, hey, where am I? He said while he was in a dark place while he looked at himself. I am in my human form, but time does not end. The Omnitrix, he said looking that he was no longer there, but then he arrives at a strange place. The Omnitrix, he said looking at what was no longer there, but then he arrived at a strange place. Note, reference image better than the one from Reboot 7_7. I was in a strange chamber with machines with green lighting and tanks of different colors, as well as seeing holographic images of the 11 aliens that our protagonist has. Izuku, where am I? He said while looking at everything. Are you at the core of the Omnitrix, Mr. Izuku Midoriya? He said while a female voice exalts him, but what he saw was only a box similar to a rubric cube, but the image was a green hologram. Nice to meet you, Mr. Izuku. I am TX 10456. I am an artificial intelligence that operates the Omnitrix system. I was programmed by my creator to be able to help you in critical moments. Izuku, wow, that's surprising, amazed, but then he realizes, wait, the creator, can you tell me who it is? I'm sorry, that information is classified, Mr. Izuku. It is for the protection of the creator, and also because thanks to the update of the Omnitrix I can help you with a guide to help you in the situation you are going through, said the female artificial intelligence. Izuku, damn. Hey, you said your name is TX 10456, right? Frustrated and asked the artificial intelligence. Affirmative, although if you want you can give me a name if you want? He said while the green-haired boy thought. Izuku, how about Pixel? Sounds good, right? He said while looking at the cube that is artificial intelligence. Pixel, Pixel sounds good. From today you can call me Pixel, he said while making weird computer sounds. From what I see it as problems, isn't it? Izuku, yes. That Tetrax guy is in danger. At first I thought he was evil, but it was obvious that he was good. I need to help him. I have to wait for the time to run out and then recharge, but I can't leave him alone. Because it's not what a hero would do, he said seriously and determined. Pixel, it is noticeable that you are, Mr. Izuku. Do not worry, I will be your guide. You see, there is a special function in the Omnitrix that can allow you to help that Tetrax, he said, leaving the boy intrigued. You see, when you transform into an alien, it happens that you can be at a disadvantage, right? Well, if you press the Omnitrix device when thinking about the one you want, you can press it and change aliens, he said, giving this information. Izuku, really, he said surprised and excited. This is amazing, and tell me, how many changes can I make? He said excitedly. Pixel, you can only change it 4 times, it's like a reset, but there's a problem. Pressing it for the 5th time drains the energy of the Omnitrix and has to recharge for a long time, 1 hour at most, he said, giving the warning to the green-haired man. Izuku, I see, thanks Pixel, he said seriously while closing his eyes and returning to the physical world. Setsuna, Izuku, are you okay? Worried to see that he stayed still. Insectoid, I'm okay Setsuna, it's time to go save him, he said seriously while he moved away from the wall and pressed the Omnitrix symbol in the center of his face, changing from insectoid to 4 arms. It's time to be a hero. End of flashback. Tetrax, I can't believe you managed the alien change so quickly, he said in amazement. Crop, now the reward for your head will be great, he said getting up. 6. He said this with excitement despite the language, taking out his tentacles and cannons, but when he tried to shoot them they exploded, seeing that they had remains of green mucus. Setsuna, remember we are 3 against 2, he said while the girl's hands returned to their owner. By the way, are you okay? He said while seeing Tetrax without his arm. Tetrax, don't worry, it can regenerate slowly but little by little, he said while being helped by Setsuna. Setsuna, Izuku kicked their asses really hard, he said while the Tetraman launches itself at them but changes its form to Ultra T and takes over Crop. Crop, no W, what are you doing? He said, already possessed. Ultra Crop, taking control of your old suit using the clamp but improving it to give a power rate of 6/6, who receives at full force sending him flying, but not before frying the alien circuits and then leaving his body and seeing if 6/6 was KO. Well, it's solved now. After a while. Tetrax, ready, tied up and locked up, he said while the 2 bounty hunters were in the same cube where Setsuna was. Izuku, by the way Tetrax, getting the attention of the Petrosapiens, what was it that you wanted to tell me about the Omnitrix, that you planned to take me with him so that they could take him away from me and everything else? Tetrax, what I wanted to tell you is that it is in good hands, he said surprising them. I have seen your way of saving me, and I thank you very much for saving me Izuku, I owe you my life, and I hope you use the Omnitrix wisely. Setsuna, by the way Tetrax, she said now calling his attention, why when they said that this was a forbidden area were they referring to this place, or to the Earth? Tetrax, oh right, if that's how it is for all the different species of aliens, the Earth and the entire solar system has been catalogued as an uninhabitable and visitable place for all species, he said seriously surprising the two. You see, since you humans evolved having quirks as they call them on planet Earth, a legion known as the Galactic Order that appeared out of nowhere, catalogued this forbidden and dangerous place. You see, do not be offended, when they evolved 80% became arrogant and evil, due to their constant abuse of their powers, so if an alien appears in the form of peace, some corrupt heroes would attack it, causing serious problems in other races and more in races that are kings. He said this and both Izuku and Setsuna understood why the entire universe sees them as dangerous, and it was true, everything changed, but nevertheless there is a way for us to come here. It is because of extreme survival codes when our life is in danger, which is why they give us the option to come to Earth and stay for the rest of our lives, he said explaining. Izuku, I see now, we know that Tetrax, and thank you very much for everything, and I hope you come back after all. Now we are friends, right? He said smiling, surprising the Petrosapiens. Tetrax, that's right, friends, Izuku shaking his hand and giving it a light squeeze. Setsuna, and what will you do then? He said while they looked at him curiously. Tetrax, I'll take this garbage to a prison far away in the galaxy. By the way, he said, taking out a type of radar that Izuku has at home, but they saw that it was advanced. With this radar you can warn me that if there are sightings or any alien causing problems, it will warn me, and thus you will stop it, he said while the green-haired man takes the radar. Izuku, thank you very much for everything Tetrax. Hey, before you go, who hired you? He said, asking seriously, and Setsuna was also interested. Who sent them? Tetrax, I don't know if I should tell you, but you should be prepared for the worst. Izuku, the one who hired us was none other than the worst villain in the galaxy, Vilgax, he said seriously, naming the most ruthless of the aliens. Izuku and Setsuna, Vilgax? They said, curious but serious when hearing how the Petrosapiens alien mentioned they assumed he was someone dangerous. Tetrax, believe me, you have to be careful, he is someone dangerous and has no mercy for anyone if you are a boy, or a girl, or someone of legal age, and one thing I heard is that possibly within half a year he will arrive in this sector, so you have to be careful. Izuku, once you see him you should be ready for the worst, he said seriously while being teleported in particles of light in a large spaceship. And as the ship moved away, leaving behind 2 serious green-haired men and even more so Izuku upon learning the name of his future archenemy.